What's good, everyone? Chris here again. Chris Goes Outdoors. Today coming at you live from the shelter. Currently filming this in the middle of a 3 to 5 day backpacking trip in the White Mountains of New Hampshire. I've been meaning to make this video for quite some time, but I just hadn't got around to it. And a lot of you may have noticed, starting like the beginning of this hiking season for me, like right around the spring, I started leaving the trail names and summit names out of my videos. And a lot of that had to do with what I was seeing on trail, and that was uneducated hiker behavior, or mainly the remnants of uneducated hiker behavior. I was finding trash and stuff all along the trails, on the sides of trails, and worse than that, I was also finding poop, like people just pooping right on the side of the trail, leaving toilet paper all over the place. And I think a lot of this stems from just people being new hikers and not perhaps being quite familiar with like hiker etiquette, so to speak, and the 7 principles of leave no trace and why those are so important. I know so many people now, especially with COVID going on, are looking to do stuff locally where you can't really travel. People are stuck in their houses, they want to get outside. I get it, completely understand it, and I'm all for it. I mean, this land isn't, mine. I don't own this land. This is public land. People should be able to get out and do their thing. But I feel like it's our responsibility as good people to respect the land that we're on. And that's where these 7 principles of leave no trace come in. And thinking back to like when I first really started hiking up in the Whites here, probably like 5 years ago, just myself as a new hiker, I didn't have anybody that like could really guide me or like explain to me these type of things, like why they would be so important. And I think a lot of people are like that. They just don't have somebody that's like an outdoorsy type in their life. I live just by Boston. Like, sure, there are people that go outdoors around there. I have a handful of friends that, have hiked some mountains here and there at that time. But nobody that was really like big into it. So I feel like a lot of that, like having somebody that can just like kind of guide you and be like, oh, you shouldn't do that. This is why. I think that's like something so crucial that a lot of people are missing. And I feel like as somebody that records these YouTube videos, puts them online, I feel like it's almost like my responsibility to at least try to guide you in the premises of leave no trace. With that said, I'm not no golden boy here. There have been times I've broken these things, and I would argue most campers and hikers, if they tell you they've never broken it once, they're just lying to your face. But I do try my best to stick to these principles and not break them, because I do believe that all of them are very important. They're very important for the well-being of everyone on trail and very important for the well-being of the trail. I just want to bring it to people's attention, get a rough understanding of it, why it's so important, and yeah, we'll jump into it. So the first principle of leave no trace is plan ahead and prepare. And this comes down to a couple of things. First, you want to plan and prepare for where you're going to hike. I usually use a trail map, find some routes I want to take, plan accordingly. And in planning for that, you also want to familiarize yourself with the rules and regulations of the area that you will be hiking in, because they can change by the season too, and they definitely change by location to location. It can vary everywhere you are, not just in the US, could be anywhere. So make sure to familiarize yourself with the rules and regulations of the area that you're staying in, and try to behave accordingly while in those areas as well. You definitely want to check the weather for the area that you're going to be in as well. This can completely change how I would have planned a trip. So for instance, this trip I was planning last weekend, I believe it was in the 20s and snowing up here. I had broken out most of my winter gear, planning for winter temps, possible snow, etc., etc. And it turns out this stretch of weekend that I'm up here now, so Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, are all unseasonably warm, sunny, and it's in like the 70 degrees. Like, it completely changed the gear I was carrying. So I went from possibly carrying really, really heavy winter gear, a sleeping bag that would have made me really, really hot, to significantly lighter gear that I happen to have that made me more than comfortable in the temperatures that we're experiencing now. 70s during the day, probably like 40s to 50s at night. It's been beautiful. It's always helpful to know the weather so that way you can plan accordingly and you don't get yourself caught in a situation that can be dangerous or extremely uncomfortable to be in. And that's pretty much the gist of the first principle. It also goes into maybe like carrying GPS, which of course I would recommend. There's all sorts of GPS apps for trails and stuff. I'm not going to get into that right now, maybe in a future video. It also talks about repackaging food here and there, just to minimize waste. Of course, you should be packing out all trash that you pack in, but for the most part, plan what you're going into, check the weather, know the rules and regulations. You should be good. Principle number 2, travel and camp on durable surfaces. And this is a pretty easy one to follow, like quite literally, just follow the trail. Those trails are made, they're pretty durable, and they were made specifically to minimize human impact within a natural area. So always travel on the trail when possible. Even if it's muddy, a lot of people I know will try to jump around the trail and stuff like that, but you really want to minimize doing that. I know that's hard to hear, you know, walking through mud puddles and stuff like that. But it is kind of proper etiquette. There are some times when, like, if you were to do that, you might sink like 10 feet into the ground, but I don't know. I always feel like I'm going to step in a mud pit and just fall to the middle of the earth. But always try to stick to the trails the best you can. If you do have to get off trail for whatever reason, do your best to try to remain on durable surfaces, be it gravel, dirt, rocks, maybe even roots, stuff like that. As far as camping goes, I would always try to use a site that already exists. For instance, right now I'm at a shelter site right here, and there looks to be spots that you could easily pop a tent up here as well. This is a designated site, so this was created with the shelter and, I would assume, camping in mind. So definitely use sites like this when you can. With that said, you might run into crowds and stuff, especially during like the more peak seasons. But if a designated site like this, where a lot of people might be, isn't really your thing, just keep an eye out while you're on the trail, and with more experience, you'll kind of be able to spot areas of the woods. Up here in the Whites, it's kind of challenging because the woods are super thick, but you'll start to develop, like, it's almost like a second nature. You'll be like looking at a spot and you'll just be like, I bet you there's a campsite somewhere over there. And you can find undesignated but already used campsites, so they're well worn in, all that. You should have no issue popping a tent up. Essentially what I'm saying, but I'm rambling, is stick on durable surfaces. Try to use, whenever you can, either designated, well-worn in campsites or just typical well-worn in, non-designated campsites. Try to minimize your impact on the land the best you can. Principle number 3, and probably one of the more important ones, is if you pack it in, you should be packing it out. But I saw so many like wrappers, water bottles, stuff like that sitting on the side of trails that it was kind of like mind-blowing to me. Also toilet paper and stuff. Anything that you bring into the woods should be brought out with you. You should not be leaving trash in the woods at all. So I always carry like a gallon-sized Ziploc bag in my food bag, and I keep everything trash-wise in that bag. In certain areas too, we'll talk about this in a minute, but you should be packing out toilet paper as well. I believe this is mainly in like desert sections, alpine sections. Don't leave your trash around. It's unsightly. It's kind of gross. It can be bad for wildlife. They smell the food on the wrappers and stuff like that. Just don't be a slob. I guess kind of loosely correlated to this is, let's say that you were cooking something overnight. You have a little left over, you know, you made too much. Either eat it or put that in your trash bag as well. You shouldn't leave food scraps around in the woods as well, because animals get to that and stuff. And then, let's say you eat it, there's still remnants of mac and cheese, for instance, in your cook pot. The proper way that I would deal with that is just to heat up some water in my pot, swish it around, and drink it. That to me is just a weird thing we did on thru hiking, just because washing dishes was just not really an option. But if you were washing yourself, like your body, headbands, dishes, stuff like that, you should pick up water, take it at least 200 feet away from the actual source, and then wash it there with biodegradable soap. I would argue, at least in my experience, I've never really needed the soap out here. I found that just mixing around hot water in my pot cleans it pretty good, but your results may vary. I would limit the use of biodegradable soap, even like really minuscule amount. So just something to think of. You know, you don't want to leave a ton of gross, nasty soap, even if it is biodegradable. Chris from the future was just remembering that I completely forgot to touch on the fact that if you were going to the bathroom outdoors, which was kind of one of the major reasons for me even like coming up with this video, you should attempt to go at least 200 feet from the trail. Emergencies happen. I understand you might not always be able to make it that 200 feet, but you should also dig a cat hole, have a shovel. Sometimes you can use a trekking pole. Doesn't work too well. Even tent stakes and stuff don't work too well either. Dig a hole into the ground and then do your business into the ground. Cover that cat hole back up. I would highly, highly recommend looking into the actual specifics of what you should do for when you have to go to the bathroom. In some locations, you actually have to pack out your poop, but luckily I'm in an area where burying it is still an option. Little time consuming, kind of difficult sometimes, but always, always bury your business. Principle number 4, I think, is fairly easy to follow, and that is leave what you find. And that pretty much means any sort of special rock you see, some tree, flowers, maybe you see a pretty flower, you want to pick it and take it with you. Don't. Leave everything as you found it, and I do this at camp as well. For instance, if I'm at a designated or undesignated campsite, I try to leave it as if I was never there. So I always try to follow the premise of leave it better than you found it. So, for instance, there's a plastic cap from a fuel can in there, I'll pack that up. Leave it better than you found it. And leave things that were there in the first place, of natural occurrence, of course. And even of unnatural occurrence. So, for instance, some areas you'll find cultural or historical artifacts. I know in the whites, for instance, especially in the wilderness areas, you can sometimes come across what I believe are probably like relics from old mining camps, which is pretty cool, nice to see. Spots you can go to where planes crashed into and the plane remnants are still there, but you should leave that stuff. You shouldn't be taking anything like that off of the trail. You should just leave it where it is and enjoy it while you're there. Take some photos if that helps, take some video, like I do in my case. But for the most part, leave things as you found them, unless it's trash. Pack that out. Leave no trace. Principle 5, and one that I probably shouldn't be guiding people on, is minimizing campfire impact. And I say I shouldn't be guiding people on it because I never light campfires, ever. Literally, even in the middle of winter, I have a negative 20-degree bag because I'm so lazy when it comes to this. Like, it boggles my mind that people have energy at the end of the day to light campfires. So this is pretty much saying make sure campfires are even like a thing in your area. I know a lot of the West right now, campfires not okay. So familiarize yourself again with the rules and regulations of the area in regards to fires. Make sure that you're in a site that a fire is okay. And also use things like a fire ring, stuff like that, like stuff that's already made and designed for a campfire. And you only want to use downed tree limbs and like brush and stuff like that. You shouldn't be sawing away live trees and whatever trying to get additional firewood. And when you are done with your fire, you need to 100% make sure that nothing is still burning in that fire pit. I feel like so many fires are started by people like just leaving a fire going. I've passed, while I was on the Appalachian Trail, all sorts of fires like that. People that like threw a little water on it, but like I walked by and like the coals are still smoking. That can easily turn into a forest fire. So you need to 100% make sure that you actually like completely douse that fire. Tons of water, mix it up if you have to. Make sure that fire is out completely before you leave that area. It's really not a hard principle to follow, especially if you just are way too lazy to make fires. So, principle number 6, respecting wildlife. The first thing that comes to mind is what do you do if you happen across an animal on trail? 1, you want to respect it. You want to give it distance. You shouldn't be running up. For instance, if there was a bear across the way from me right now, I would not be running up to it trying to take a picture of it. Might I try to get a picture from here? Sure. But I would also possibly, if I was standing and not with a shelter behind me, I would probably try to back up and give the thing some space and let it do what it wants to do out there. This reminds me of all those like meatheads out west, I think in Yosemite, that go up to like the bison up there and like walk up next to it and then get like horned to hell. Respect wildlife and don't be stupid. I know it's hard sometimes, but God, come on, people. You should also refrain from feeding animals, as fun as it may be. I know I have been guilty of this before. I have, in fact, once fed a gray jay, the great seal of the White Mountains, and I don't do it anymore. They were flying all over the place above me at the Nom and Ten site the other night. Didn't feed one of them. They looked at me with their pretty little beady eyes, but they did not get anything from me. They get dependent on it, and when they get dependent on it, they start getting bold. And the gray jays, I literally watched one of the guys at the site. One was trying to pick it right out of he was eating it, and they were flying down trying to steal it from his hand as he was eating it. So they've gotten really bold with it. Chipmunks, mice, anything. You just want to refrain from feeding the animals. And in regards to that too, goes with proper bear bag storage. Keep your food and trash typically in your bear bag and then hung when you're camping. Or if you're going off for the day and leaving your food somewhere, like maybe at like a site that you're coming back to that day, you should try to hang your food so it's out of the way so no animals can get to it. And then another thing too, it's keeping your pets under control, and I feel like a lot of this has to do with dogs. I believe you're supposed to have your dogs on a leash at all times in the Whites. Don't have a dog, I don't really know. I know a lot of people don't really follow that. It's never really been much of a bother to me because I like dogs. Dogs are cool. But the issue becomes if they see an animal in the woods, for instance, and they go bolting after that animal. It's causing undue stress to that animal, undue stress to your dog. I remember I walked upon a dog on the Appalachian Trail, was there with its owner. It was off leash. It walked up to a porcupine and it had quills all over its face. And the guy was like asking me for pliers. I was like, dude, you need to get to a vet. Like, you don't need pliers. Like, get out of here. Avoid letting your pets roam free if you can. I understand you just want to let little Fido do his thing, but it can lead to negative consequences. And the seventh and final leave no trace principle is be courteous to other visitors. And for me, this is just, I try to be quiet when I'm in the woods. You want to kind of remain silent. Don't be crazy. Like, just act cool. Act cool, man. Act cool, and you'll be all right. And this also entails being courteous to people while on trail. For instance, I'll always try to say hello to people on trail. Maybe we'll start a little conversation. If they're, for instance, coming down and I'm going up, I can ask them what the trail's like up above, you see any water sources, stuff like that. So just be courteous out there. If people are coming uphill or downhill, for me, I always step off the side of the trail, like all the time. Trails can be very thin, it's hard for multiple people to get by, but I'm always looking for a break, so for me, it's whatever. People will argue back and forth of who should have the right of way, you know, the person going up, person coming down. I don't care. I'm just going to pull over to the side of the trail anyway and let you come down or go up. Doesn't matter to me. If you have a hiker behind you, for instance, that's hiking like really quick, I tend to notice that pretty well. Very few times that people snuck up on me like that. And I'll just step out of the way, be like, hey, how you doing? And they'll carry on. Trail runners, for instance, a lot you'll see up here in the Whites. Those guys are always going faster than me, so just be courteous to people out there. And of course, when you're camping or even like taking a break, try to do it not directly on the trail. I always will look for, and I feel like you can find them pretty easy, like a little rocky section, like a big boulder or something, for instance, that's just at least slightly off trail that I can sit on to snack. That way people aren't trying to like walk over me to get through the trail. So always try to keep other people in mind when you're taking a break and camping. And then lastly, I don't think people quite understand sometimes how much voices carry out here, especially above tree line. Like, I was on top of Mount Monroe and I could hear people talking literally half a mile away, roughly half a mile. I don't know how far it is, maybe a little less than half a mile, on the other peak, Little Monroe, yesterday. Like, that's how far voices travel. So try to keep the voices to a minimum, not screaming and shouting at people. Bluetooth speaker, throw it away. Get out of here. People that do that, is mind-boggling to me. If you want to listen to music or a podcast, bring headphones. I would argue if you're doing the headphone thing, you should leave one in, or at least keep the volume to a level where, like, if somebody's coming from behind you, you can at least hear them. And yeah, Bluetooth speaker, not very cool, especially like at a site like this. So say for instance there's 10 people staying here and 8 people are trying to go to bed and some guy and his buddy are over there blasting music out of something. Like, it's disrespectful for everyone. Alright, so that should wrap it up. I feel like I skimmed over most of these principles. I would highly recommend, I'll try to post some links down below. There is a full Leave No Trace website. I'm pretty sure the National Parks has a good summary page on the principles as well, so I'll try to leave the links down below. But new hiker, fairly experienced hiker, really experienced hiker, I feel like it's important for all of us to do our best to follow these principles. Again, they're principles, they're not rules, but I would argue that you should definitely try to follow them. What it comes down to and why they are so important to follow, especially with the number of people coming out to trail and seeking refuge kind of in the woods, it's important because it shows a respect for the people that you're hiking around, the people that will hike after you, and it shows a respect for the land. This is public land, of course, you know, anybody can really come out here, but if we don't really treat it well and we abuse it, there's no telling where that will lead. So I try to be on my best behavior and keep other people in mind. Like, a lot of people come out here to seek like solace. Like, there's a very peaceful solitude out here and a very like amazing experience that you'll find when you come out into the woods. Like, it's just, it is what it is. And by following these principles, it will help maintain that for us, future generations as well. That's all I got. Again, I think I said it in the beginning. I wish I had somebody that kind of explained this stuff to me in detail when I started. If you're just beginning and you see this video, let me be that person and do your best to follow these principles. With that said, I need to pack up and start moseying down the trail. Thanks for watching, everyone. Hope the video was helpful. Feel free to like it, drop a comment if you have any questions. Not that I'm like some expert on the subject per se. And that's all I got. It's been real. It's been fun. Take care.